Okay, here we go. The end of the Civil War was near when, quite accidentally, a hero who sneezed abruptly seized defeat and turned it to victory. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Nobody? Well, these words began one of the great or silly sitcoms of the 60s that I watched when I was a little kid. It was F Troop. Nobody remembers F Troop? Was I the only one who watched it? All right. So the tribe of Native Americans in the series was called the Hekawis. And they got their name when they were met by the settlers that came upon them. Asking them who they were, the settlers misinterpreted the question, really, or the answer. They were actually lost and said, "We're the Hekawi." So they got the name, the Hekawis. And so I ask you and myself, where the heck are we? When I was trying to figure out what to say in today's sermon, I asked Pastor, I looked around, looked at things, and I figured the Lutheran Church has several seasons within the liturgy. There's a season of Advent, Christmas, and Epiphany, which kind of goes together. A season of pre-Lent, Lent, Holy Week, and Easter, which kind of goes together. And then there's the rest. There's Pentecost, or ordinary time. Today's, the beginning of today's liturgy, it says it's the 7th week after Pentecost. So it's kind of a weird time. I don't know about you, but I don't consider anything about our time ordinary. It's very extraordinary to me. And so a funny thing happened to me on my way home from church 2 Sundays in a row. I was thinking about the sermon that I've been asked to give, this one, and I agreed to give. And I hit the radio to turn on the music, and both times the same exact song started playing. It was the radio, it wasn't my, iPod. It happened to be, both times, the Bangles version of the old Simon and Garfunkel tune, A Hazy Shade of Winter. I thought that to be an odd coincidence, but I really do not believe in coincidences. So I looked into the lyrics of that version. It's not about the weather or about the seasons. It is about life and our reflecting on our journey up to now and about where we go from here. And I think I should approach this perspective of my life through graceful understanding, or maybe even loving kindness, and not be too critical of the times I might have done better. The Lord knows there have been plenty of those, and plenty to come. So looking back, some of the verses say, time, 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 see what's become of me. While I looked around for my possibilities, I was so hard to please. I was so hard to please. Perhaps I was too critical of the people and events surrounding me. Perhaps I was too critical of myself. I have repeatedly found myself to be a poor judge in my lifetime. And although I try hard not to judge, I just cannot seem to help myself. That part of me certainly has room for improvement. I need to grow wiser. A wise man once said to his wife, nothing, because he was a wise man. Thank you for laughing. In the Bible, King Solomon is remembered as perhaps the wisest king of all. And that's the word I think I link with King Solomon, whose writings I really am a big fan of. But I love the brilliant ask that Solomon has for God in what we read today from 1 Kings. Solomon does not ask for wisdom. He asks for an understanding mind. He did not ask for long life or riches or for the life of his enemies. He did not ask for wisdom. He did not even ask for 3 more wishes or gifts, which is what I would ask for. That was absolutely brilliant. He was given a wise and discerning mind, and I hope that we can be given more understanding and through that become a bit wiser. So what is wisdom, and how does it differ from understanding? I found 5 strengths that kind of fell beneath the wisdom umbrella. It's creativity, curiosity, judgment, love of learning, and perspective. And I'm not great at any of those, especially the middle one, judgment. But these all seem to me to be active nouns, if there are such beasts. And they all seem to be worthwhile pursuits. I'd love to be more creative, curious, judgmental. I'd be better at it, not more of it. Love of learning and perspective. King Solomon seems to have taken a passive quality of understanding and applied his active hand, turning it into wisdom. I can do the same thing, or at least I can try to in my life. I can take the good qualities God has bestowed upon me, such as faith, compassion, intelligence, and love, and use my activities to make a bit of a difference in this world. Again, back to the Bangles song. Look around, grass is high, fields are ripe. It's the springtime of my life. That's kind of weird if it's really the hazy shade of winter. It didn't feel like springtime of my life when I got out of bed this morning, but the weather is kind of spring-like outside today. No matter the bumps and bruises, or the missteps, wrong turns, or slippery slopes that I have slid down and will probably continue to do so, while I live and breathe, I have the opportunity every day to begin again. And I should treat all of my future days as the springtime of my life, so that I might make the most of them. So we're the Hekawi. When I was a kid, there were two things I wanted to be when I grew up. One of them was a dad. I was lucky enough to be given that opportunity when our first daughter was born on December 22nd. And I love that day, for it's not only the day that I celebrate our daughter as a gift to my wife and myself, but as the day after the winter solstice. With the birth of Sabina, I know that the days get longer and longer and longer. And I like the days. I'm not a night guy, I'm a day guy. Spring is on its way. December 22nd, sure, we have to go through, here in New York, a lot of bitter cold, snow, icy winds before spring comes, but that's life. Hope is on its way. But we're the Hekawi. I became a deacon along with Stu 5 years ago. I do not have any significant accomplishment to show for it in the last 5 years. I think that's pretty pathetic. I don't know about you guys. Sure, I help out with the weekly routines at St. Paul's like I'm doing today, but I feel that that is not enough of me to do. Stu has done some great work with the Boy Scouts. Deacon Gail became a Stevens minister. She's terrifically active in the church, even though she's technically retired, but she's still active. I have stuttered through a few things, but nothing has really stuck. So where the heck am I? In Solomon's words from 1 Kings today, my father David walked before you. He describes David as walking, not standing, not sitting, not kneeling. He was on a journey with God and for God. And David surely did misstep, as we all know. So where the heck am I? I am on my journey, and where the heck am I going? Lord only knows. And oh, what a guy that Solomon was. I can see today's psalm reading coming right out of his mouth, and out of our mouth as well, if you get a chance to look back at today's psalm. Think about it coming from you. And how does the parable of the mustard seed fit in with all of this? Well, towards the beginning of our journeys, we plant the mustard seed of our faith by our activities. As we get along on our journey, not only does the seed sprout and grow, but we can continue to plant more mustard seeds. We don't have to plant just one. Recently, we heard Pastor Paul talk about the parable of the sower. It seems there are a bunch of these sower parables. Some seeds fell on rocks, some fell in cracks, some fell amongst briars, and some fell on good soil. Maybe we should be continually planting seeds in the springtime of our lives. And sometimes we do not even know that we planted any seed, but oh, we have. If you recall the sermon from Pastor Bruce a few weeks ago, he spoke of a kid who was bullied while walking home from school with all of his books on a Friday afternoon. It turned out that he was going to commit suicide that weekend, and he did not want his mother to have to empty his locker after his death. A kind gesture and word was all it took to turn him around when a good Samaritan helped him pick up his books, helped him carry them home, and invited him to come hang out with him as a friend. a kind word, a gentle touch, a friendly smile, or a good-natured gesture might be the spark that lights someone else's fire. I can do the wise and understanding next thing. I can do the next right thing with loving kindness. I just gotta keep trying. But how do we become these disciples of God, filled with understanding and loving kindness? While researching this sermon, I came upon a beautiful story by Krista Joyce. It was about, it was about Michelangelo's David. Now, Michelangelo was the third artisan committed to sculpt the statue of David. For a bit over 2 years, he toiled at his work. And when the 17-foot statue, which is really quite awesome, and I encourage you all to see it once in your lives, live, Michelangelo said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. You just chip away all of the stone that doesn't look like David." It sounds pretty easy. So let's recall for a moment a recent reading and sermon. Back to the separation of the crop from the weeds. If the reason that God doesn't separate the good from the evil before the end of the earth is that all of us have some evil in us, then maybe our way forward is to free the angel within ourselves and just keep chipping away the pieces that do not look like the angel. We should continue to sow mustard seeds. We should put the spring cleaning into the springtime of our lives. So here I am in this time of Pentecost, or time after Easter, or ordinary time, or this hazy shade of winter. Please join me in continuing to ask God for an understanding mind, to move forward and do the next right thing, as Pastor Bruce had said. And let's not be lost like Chief Wild Eagle and Crazy Horse. We're the Hekawi. We are right here in the springtime of our lives, sowing seeds. Thank you for listening. Today's hymn is "You Are Holy." Take it away, David.